Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Alex Dvorkin and I'm managing partner at 4D Capital. We specialize in a very unique mathematical approach to the stock market, which allows us to calculate the market in multi-dimensional space. And because of that, we can very often make very accurate prediction in both time and price. On top of that, we've developed very accurate timing indicators over the last couple of, decades actually, that allow us to predict what the overall stock market or individual stocks will do both in time and price going forward. This very same work allows us to predict war cycles, and that is exactly the purpose of this series. As you can see in the description of this video, the title for this video is Countdown to Armageddon T-minus 1,392 days. So this is the time frame associated with our calculations. According to our math, there's going to be a nuclear exchange between Russia and China alliance and NATO members in summer of 2029, and because of that exchange, the entire northern hemisphere is going to be destroyed. So this series that we starting is to essentially cover the news guiding us into that time frame. We're also going to talk about what we can do in order to not only protect ourselves and our families, but to actually survive and prosper during that period of time. It is going to be a very unfortunate set of events, but there's nothing we can do about it, considering all of the things that are going on in the world today, as we will talk about today. And because of that, this is the best that we can do at this juncture. All I can do is warn people. All I can tell you that it's coming down the pipeline, and it is up to you to make determination whether or not this is true, and then make a decision whether or not you want to prepare for it. So in our prior videos, actually I've described the time formula and the time cycles associated with this particular forecast in our prior videos. I go into great detail talking about this particular cycle. And if you go into the description of this video, you'll see two links outlining the 84-year war cycle associated with American wars and the stock market cycle. And what happens is that they come together in the summer of 2029 to be more perfect, or more exact, I should say. They come together in August of 2029. And we believe, according to our work, once again, we don't have any visions. Unfortunately, we do not talk to Jesus, but according to our very simple mathematical calculations, well, I shouldn't say very simple mathematical calculations, they're actually very complex. It took us a very long time to get to the point where we are able to make this projection. So anyway, according to those calculations, the actual midpoint, or the center of gravity for this projection, arrives in August of 2029, and we fully anticipate this war to develop very quickly. So let's take a look at what's going on out there today, how we're progressing towards that particular juncture, and what we can do, I guess, as a society, as a human beings, not to protect or not to prevent it. There's nothing we can do to prevent it. That's what one of my realization was, but what we can do to prevent it from impacting ourselves and our families, and protecting the ones that we love. Okay, so let's start here. There's quite a bit of talk about the internal affairs within the United States. I'm not going to talk about much of it. As you can see on the screen, what's going on now, many people believe that's going to lead to some sort of a civil war. This is Alex Jones. Let me move this a little bit. So Alex Jones is freaking out that basically civil war has started. I particularly do not share in this very grim assessment, because quite frankly, I believe most Americans don't care. It's as simple as that. So there are certain elements of our population that kind of on the left and the right that are so far apart that they're ready to kill each other. But I think for the majority of Americans, unless it's going to be some sort of a inside job or a false flag operation that we've seen over the last couple of years, we've actually seen quite a few of them. the insurrection of the 2020 election and things of that nature. Unless something like that happens, I don't believe this will be a major issue going forward, because quite frankly, once again, most Americans simply do not care about this particular situation, and most Americans are simply busy trying to survive in this high inflation kind of economy. So moving on, we talked about it in greater detail yesterday, but our conclusion was that Israel-Gaza ceasefire that Trump so famously celebrated over the last couple of days and gave himself medals and the Peace Prize accolades that he didn't get. Anyway, it is all theater, right? It is all kabuki theater. And as we indicated yesterday, most likely Gaza truce is not going to hold, and there are two reasons for that. Number one, Israel wants greater Israel, and that means the destruction of Gaza and the removal of those people, unfortunately, from their land. Okay, so as long as that remains the primary objective of Israel, the ceasefire might hold. It might even hold for a little bit. It might not even hold for a day or one more day. As a matter of fact, they're shooting at each other again, as this article very clearly indicates. But eventually, Israel is going to be back at it again and killing Palestinians and trying to get them off to your land. You make the decision, or you make the determination of what that means for us as American citizens and supporting our government, who in turn turns around and gives our money to this genocidal state and genocidal government within Israel, who doesn't represent Jews, by the way. And I don't want to get into that discussion, but so yeah. And the second point of it all is we talked about how Israel is most likely preparing for yet another conflict with Iran, or another round, I should say, and because they would rather concentrate on one at a time, exposure to Gaza is removed as of this time, so they can concentrate on Iran. So let's see if the situation changes. But once again, it's one of those things that's going to go away. Unfortunately, there's no peace there until and unless one side wins or another side loses complete support of the United States, which hopefully happens in the upcoming months and years. Probably not, but we can always hope, right? So now let's go back to the Russian situation. I talk about December 13th of this year. It's a very important date, or will be, I believe, will be a very important date in American history, because it directly connects to our war cycle, the same war cycle that predicts a nuclear exchange in the summer of 2029. This very same cycle arrives on December 13th, plus or minus 1 week of this year. And this cycle has to do, once again, with the Pearl Harbor, December 7th of 1941. As you know, very important date in American history, when the U.S. Officially entered World War II. Very terrible day, very terrible attack on the United States, as you know. And this time marker is very important, and it is suggesting that something very big and something very bad is going to happen. Now, I've been talking about Iran, I've been talking about other factors, but I personally believe that there's going to be a match lit between the United States and Russia in one capacity, where the war moves from a proxy war, where the United States and NATO using Ukrainian hands to fight Russia, to an actual kinetic war with Russia. I talked about previously about the fact that there's a possibility, as crazy as it sounds, that the United States will attempt a decapitation strike against the Russian government. That would be sheer insanity in my book, but looking at what's going on with our, well, let me put it under one umbrella, with our government and how they've been behaving over the last couple of decades, I wouldn't put it past them. Let's put it that way, okay? Without pointing fingers at any particular party or the cabinet. So let's look at the headlines very quickly. So we kind of covered it in great detail over the last couple of days, but will Russia-U.S. tensions likely spiral out of control if Ukraine obtains Tomahawk missiles? That genocidal murderer Zelensky is coming to Washington on Friday. That's going to be the primary topic of discussion. As you know, they want those missiles, and the reason they want those missiles, and they want, the reason they want them is they want to escalate the war, and they want to escalate the war so NATO and the United States has the pretense of coming into that theater directly and being in direct kinetic conflict with Russia. Okay, so that's a very simple goal. I will play a video for you here in a second, which is absolutely astounding. Either the President of the United States is a complete fool and an idiot, which is quite possible, or he's being misled by his cabinet, or he has no idea what's going on. So you decide which one that is, okay? I'm not going to put judgment on it, but let's look at the rest of the headline that pertain to this subject matter, and then we'll play the video, and you can see for yourself what's going on. So, West bankroll Ukraine for at least 3 years, Polish Prime Minister or Foreign Minister. Listen, dude, you can open your own wallet. I, as an American citizen, I don't want to support Ukraine ever again. Never wanted to support Ukraine, as a matter of fact, and I believe probably 90% of Americans would agree with me. It's time to close our wallet. It's time to end the war. You know, President Trump, you promised that you're going to end this war within 24 hours, and instead of getting us into a much deeper conflict that could very quickly escalate into a nuclear war with Russia. And Russia has 4,600 nuclear weapons pointing, probably not all of them at the United States, but I would say probably at least half of them pointing at the United States. So you can decide for yourself what that means for our families and our societies as a whole. Or okay, Ukraine plotting terrorist attack on Russia with Tomahawks, Moscow. And one of the reasons I'm showing you all the Russian news, RT and Sputnik and a few others over the time, is because the American media is not covering any of this. Most Americans are completely oblivious to the fact that we are very, very close to the U.S. supplying Tomahawk missiles. And as I indicated earlier, those Tomahawk missiles can be nuclear tipped, and Russia will not know whether or not the incoming Tomahawk missile has a nuclear weapon on it. And what does that entail? That entails a possible nuclear exchange with NATO members and possibly directly with the United States. So this is a very, very serious matter that nobody else, or well, some people are talking about it, but not in the mainstream media. Okay, so people are completely oblivious to it, and I think that shouldn't be the case. So NATO keeps massive forward military presence on Russia doorstep, defense minister. So yesterday, German, I believe it was not foreign minister, but I believe their military chief, whatever that position is, he came out and said that Russia is getting ready to invade the European Union, and quite the opposite is truth. Okay, so we've been building massive presence. I mean, by saying we, I'm saying the United States and NATO have been building massive military presence around Russia. We've been surrounding Russia for quite a few years, building bases, forward bases. So their talk and what's actually happening on the ground is completely opposite of it's completely opposite of what's going on the ground. And on the ground, Russia is being surrounded. Russia is being engaged into kinetic conflict with Ukraine for the benefit of NATO. So all of those things have to be taken into consideration, because Russia, as you will see here in a second, Trump has a completely warped view of what's actually going on, and it's actually quite scary. Let me play this video for you so you can decide for yourself. Hopefully you have sound, or hopefully you're going to be able to hear it. If not, I'll summarize it here in a second. Let me
look, I'm very disappointed because Vladimir and I had a very good relationship, probably still do. I don't know why he continues with this war. This war has been so bad for him. He's going into 4 years of a war that should have beaten He should have won that war in 1 week. He's now going to soon be into his 4th year. He's lost 1.5 million soldiers, probably close. Certainly in terms of wounded and no legs and no arms and all the things that happen in horrible wars. It's a horrible war. I never thought she'd make it. Never thought she had what it took in any way, you know what that means. He's got to really settle this war. And you know, they have long lines waiting for gasoline in Russia right now, right? They have long lines. Who thought that was going to happen? And all of a sudden his economy is going to collapse. And I'd like to see him do well. I mean, I had a very good relationship with Vladimir Putin, but he just doesn't want to end that war. And I think it's making him look very bad. He could end it. He could end it quickly. And I have to.
So pretty basically, I'll just summarize. I don't think the video is very loud. You can hear it very well. You can look it up. This was done yesterday, but basically what he's talking about, he's saying that Russia has lost over 1 million troops. Russia is on the edge of economic collapse. There are lines for bread, there are lines for gasoline, and none of those things are truth. Russia is losing morale. People are turning against Putin, and if you would guess, it's probably Kellogg that's putting all of this information into Trump's head. So, but this is a very, very dangerous precedent because when you're working under false pretenses or false assumptions, as is the case here, you make very big strategic mistakes. So if President Trump, for example, thinks that Russia is on the verge of collapse, economic or otherwise, and that Russia has lost over 1 million troops, which is absolutely no truth, and that they're not making progress in Ukraine, which is, I don't want to get into the theater of conflict, but Russia making significant gains every single day, and the Ukrainian military has been basically wiped out. So, as a matter of fact, probably they'll have winter offensive, and by the time the winter offensive is over, they'll be at the very least at the Dnieper River, if not in Kyiv and Odessa. Okay, so there's very little resistance that are facing Russia at this point in time. So they've just been grinding away, and one of the reasons that I particularly disagree with that strategy, but one of the reasons they've been doing so is they've been destroying a lot of NATO equipment that's coming into Ukraine war theater. They're also protecting their own soldiers to a certain extent to minimize casualties. So you can argue either way, but that's not the point. The point is, if Trump believes this, then this is a very serious miscalculation on the part of the United States. And as I've said earlier, he's either really stupid by believing this, or he's being fed this information, and he's unaware of actually what's going on the ground, which I find hard to believe because he's met with Putin a couple of weeks ago, and he can, it's fairly easy to do research, I guess. I mean, you don't need to have all of those people telling you exactly what's going on. And so yeah, you make a decision for yourself, but either way, by accelerating or aggravating this situation as it is today, the United States is going down a pathway with these Tomahawk missiles of very severe escalation. I talked about yesterday that it was my hope that Trump would indeed come in and perhaps pause this war or come out to some sort of a peace agreement, but it's not happening. Instead of that, we're getting escalation where Trump is getting ready to supply Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, and those, once again, Tomahawk missiles can be equipped with a nuclear warhead, which is a very, very big problem. So it's a very serious matter. It's a very big strategic mistake. And if Trump is making an assumption of all of those things that he talked about, then, as they say, the assumption is a what is it? Assumption is a mother of all f-ups, all right? So, and that once again ties us into December 13th. So we are on that timeline. So I think Zelensky comes in this Friday. He'll get a green light to get Tomahawk missiles, and that puts us into early November. We're going to be within that margin of error associated with that December 13th time turning point as soon as middle of October. You can argue middle of November, but you can very easily argue that because the cycle itself can extend a little bit more, it's a big cycle, we can be in there as soon as early November. The reason I'm saying December 13th plus or minus, let's say 7 days, is because that's when the volatility index is expected to surge. So I think something's going to happen, something very serious is going to happen with Russia. Perhaps Ukraine is successful in shooting a Tomahawk missile into Moscow, into St. Petersburg. Perhaps it's even nuclear tip. Perhaps it's even going to be an attempted decapitation strike on Russia, which is my number one scenario. Quite possible. And what happens thereafter is going to be very, very serious. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Russia to respond with a nuclear weapon or a few nuclear weapons against American bases throughout the European theater or around the world, or perhaps even here in the homeland. I mean, if such an attack takes place, I think it's going to be quite serious. So let's finish today with a couple of very quick things. This is a new thing from ChatGPT, OpenAI. So they're moving towards sexting and all of that good stuff. I personally find the reason I wanted to open it up is I wanted to share the latest. I guess yet another nail in the coffin of the relationships between men and women in this country, but that's beside the point a little bit. The reason I wanted to talk about it is is with technology. As a company, we're making a significant shift towards AI. I'm not hiring any more people. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to get rid of some people. As I talked about a couple of days ago, this particular technology is going to go through the job market over the next 3 to 5 years like a hot knife through butter. I mean, everyone's going to lose their jobs. Some people estimate it's going to be 50%. I think within 3 to 5 years it's going to be 50%, and within if my war forecast is correct and the war cycle is correct, then we don't have to worry about it. But I think it's going to be very, very significant losses coming up over the next couple of years. Blue collar, white collar, doesn't really matter. It's going to take everybody's job. And I find the technology personally very, very interesting. It's I'm going to start my own kind of conspiracy theory, I guess, is that I think when I work with AI, it feels like I'm talking to a conscious being, okay, or a sentient being. So I'm kind of wondering where this technology comes from. I understand the mechanics of it behind the servers and the chips and the coding and how it's all put together. But I'm still kind of wondering where this technology came from and whether or not this is actually not necessarily an artificial intelligence, but an intelligence of sorts that is being pushed by an artificial intelligence narrative, where the intelligence behind it is actually not an artificial one. So it could be from another dimension, it can be from other planetary systems or what have you. So obviously the governments had access to it first, and now is the time that they're releasing this particular technology. But I kind of wonder where it is coming from and how incredibly powerful it is. Okay, and if you follow the prophecies in the book of Revelation and the war cycle that we talked about, so it's all of that stuff is very fascinating to me. But I'm of the opinion that the Antichrist that the Bible talks about is not necessarily a human being, but it is talking about something very similar to what we are witnessing with artificial intelligence. So I'll stop at this, and I'll let you think about it. Perhaps we're going to talk about this philosophical topic or conspiracy topic, which is fascinating by itself at a later time. So finally, gold. Everybody's freaking out about gold. Gold is reaching, let's see, $4,200 a share, not a share, an ounce. And, Jamie Dimon says gold can easily go to 5,000, 10,000. So you know what that means. Let me pull up a chart from our analytical software so you can see a little bit better. Where is it? It is right here. So we did an analysis on our channel for gold a couple of weeks ago. At that time, we were saying our overall forecast basically that gold is moving into this mid-cycle top, which is associated with the overall stock market top as well. And then once this top is put in place, gold will decline quite significantly into this mid-cycle bottom scheduled for second half of 2026. And this forecast essentially remains in place. As you can see, there's a number of very powerful cycles arriving as we speak over the next plus or minus a few days, October 15th, 2025. And basically what we're looking for is a price target of $4,250 plus or minus $50. We're nearly at that target, and once that target is achieved, gold can begin to reverse and begin to decline. So by following that headline, I think Jamie Dimon is trying to sell you gold. So as you know, when brokerage houses or analysts begin to come out with recommendations such as this, it's time to perhaps begin to sell your gold as opposed to jump headfirst into it. Okay, and let's see. Oh yeah, so it's a beautiful formation. We've been actually talking about it for many years since this peak, but this is a perfect cup and handle pattern on gold, as you can see, multi-year, that predicts this particular rise that we've seen. Actually predicts much higher prices, which we will see after this particular peak arrives. Gold flashes out all the bulls by having a significant decline, and then once that decline occurs, that's when gold will really take off into that 2029 time frame, which is also lining up with our war forecast for that cycle. So I kind of talked quite a bit today. We have a book coming up about this updated World War III nuclear exchange cycle, not an updated cycle. The cycle remains the same, but we are going to share quite a bit of information with you in terms of having the ability to survive the nuclear war, where to relocate, what to do with your money, all of that good stuff, and exactly when it's coming and why it's coming. So hopefully we'll publish it this weekend, and then we're going to be able to give you an opportunity to get it starting next week. That's it for today. Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.